From shifting logos for absolutely no valid reason, to the logo surprisingly becoming a symbol of police brutality, the Punisher's logo saga is one for the ages, and the Daredevil Born Again series is bringing it all up to the surface once more. Word on the street is that Jon Bernthal is all set to reprise his role of the Punisher in the upcoming Daredevil Born Again Disney Plus series. And that warm little hug of a news has Marvel fans from all over the globe super excited. The timing of this particular announcement comes at a crucial moment for the MCU too. Ever since Avengers Endgame came and raised the bar of all Marvel content, the productions that have followed have come under intense fire. I mean, not everything can be Endgame level good, right? But that's what the people want now. So I guess we've just set ourselves up for inevitable disappointment. Still, the Netflix series has a pretty devoted following, so everyone's basically expecting Marvel to do something outstanding with Daredevil Born Again. Now, the Punisher's return from the Netflix series is in no way going to be the shining white knight Marvel needs, but it is a step in the right direction if the studio uses the character well. The MCU has a tendency to incorporate a pretty straightforward morality code into all of its films, and with the Punisher, they have an opportunity to make a statement on the nature of justice, both inside and outside of the superhero film universe they've established. But with the Punisher comes its own drama. The Netflix series portrayal of the Punisher serves as a clear example for the Disney Plus revival to follow. Still, there is a good chance that when the Punisher returns to the big screen, controversy will follow. And it's all about the character's iconic skull logo. Earlier, Marvel decided to remove the symbol that was sported by our favorite anti-hero in the past, the Amazing Spider-Man number 129. A seminal comic from 1974 gave birth to the character, and the logo has been a part of pop culture for decades. Since then, the skull became a defining symbol of the Punisher. And why not? But here's the story on the skull. Marvel no longer uses the original version. Instead, they started to use a brand new version of the anti-hero's crest in 2022. The MCU replaced the human skull with something slightly more demonic in nature. I'm not saying it's anything less than the original thing. I'm just saying it's gone through a few tweaks here and there. It now has tusks and horns. So, now for better or worse, these modifications give it a completely different look from the traditional skull. And here's the thing. Marvel doesn't have an official explanation for these changes, either in-universe or outside of it. But the way it arrived and how it's currently being used in political movements isn't likely a coincidence. Besides, there are no coincidences in the MCU. We all already know that, right? I mean, they might have used his previous logo to remind people that the Punisher is a real person, not just a symbol. But the new one may depict him as a new beast, hunting in a different manner. Now, Frank would have the opportunity to further explain why he has to change the skull. But now it's being used by several police enforcement agencies, military personnel, and political organizations during the past few years. I mean, it was employed on January 6th during the riots at the US Capitol too. So naturally, the media as well as the Punisher's creators at Marvel Comics have all harshly criticized people and organizations who use the character as a representation of what they stand for. It also led to one of the co-creators of the Punisher, Jerry Conway, to quickly denounce the manner in which the character was being honored. And thank goodness for that, right? So, how does all that play into the release of Daredevil Born Again? Well, right off the bat, Marvel Studios finds itself in an unpleasant position due to the surge in attention and its choice to abandon its old logo. They've always made an effort to stay faithful to the spirit of its comic book characters, so it seems sensible that it would want to make the Punisher in Daredevil Born Again as similar to his comic book version as possible, including the skull insignia. The Punisher can be used pretty effectively without running the risk of glorifying his vicious character, because the comic books have repeatedly made it obvious that he isn't a real hero. But the way that the military and law enforcement are utilizing the crest adds a new and rather unwelcome layer of controversy for the MCU to deal with. Here's what they can do about it. Marvel has two options in Daredevil on what to do with the crest: to emphasize that the Punisher is not to be idolized while retaining the distinctive logo is one approach. The issue with this, though, is by abandoning the crest and implementing a new one, comic books have already established a precedent by walking away from it earlier. Of course, the Marvel Cinematic Universe is independent of comics and is not required to run its artistic decisions. But failing to do so in this particular instance might undercut the choice to update the print version and provoke criticism. So I guess the main question is, which option is the lesser of all devils? Either way, all eyes will be on the MCU Punisher when he makes his comeback to the big screen to see if the new logo from the comics makes the cut. Many fans think that the better course of action would be to demonstrate that Frank's a character who doesn't appeal to the white supremacist organizations that have co-opted the logo. But whatever Marvel decides to do, it will still be better to come out and address it rather than the weird silent stance on the whole thing. Or like Jon Bernthal said, F them. I guess that works too, right? But the anti-hero himself is iconic in every way. Punisher, played by Jon Bernthal, gained enormous popularity from the moment he made his debut in Daredevil Season 2. Fans have already come to see Frank Castle's trademark cruelty and violence as his core traits. Applying this to the Punisher series, the character was expanded into a full-fledged arc with a strong emotional core. And you guys all know how much I love that. The show's creator, Steve Lightfoot, was able to give a character who's frequently portrayed as a heartless killer with a healthy sprinkle of humanity. Frank Castle, aka the Punisher, is able to strike a balance between being a kind person, devoted spouse, and war hero, as well as the bone-crunching, gun-wielding vigilante that comic book fans have come to expect. The man possesses great tools in his arsenal, clearly. But what makes it better is that Bernthal was able to relate to the character because of where it originated from. According to the actor, he's a f***ing miserable, furious father and husband who lives in this terrible world of darkness, grief, and anguish. Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. And that somehow allows him to relate to Frank Castle. I honestly don't know how I feel about that. Do you? So, how does he fit into the grand scheme of the MCU? The good heroes and bad villains in Marvel films generally follow relatively straightforward morality tales. I'm not calling anyone out, but it is what it is, folks. The method for eliminating the big bads is quite straightforward, with some more serious threats being put to eternal rest, and smaller ones being stopped, arrested, expelled, or coming to some other non-fatal conclusion. It's almost always the same combination of the formula, right? But the Punisher's return to the MCU will start up fresh conversations, which seem to be missing in the new Marvel films. So, if the newly Disney-owned studio wants the support of the audience, it is crucial to maintain the image of Frank Castle that Bernthal and the comics before him have built. At the end of the day, Marvel has the skill to incorporate the theme of the Punisher's rather offensive tactics into the Daredevil Born Again series. They may even adopt a tough position on the part of the Punisher that has drawn criticism, if they truly want to impress. Still, whichever route they take, it's gonna be amazing! That's a wrap on the MCU's Punisher's new logo controversy. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.